Welcome back, disc golf fans, to another Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series event, the LWS Open at Idlewild, presented by Dynamic Discs and the Natty. Beautiful course out here at the Idlewild Park in Burlington, Kentucky. I'm Nathan Queen, again joined by Andrew Fish.
And at this Idlewild Park disc golf course, one of the highest rated courses in the country for several years running, and a pretty consistent stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. You see our card there: Matt Orum, Calvin Heimburg, Chris Dickerson, Zach Arlinghaus. Going to be our feature card today.
Yeah, excited to watch these guys play. Zach always seems to pop up around this time, and per the usual, Calvin Heimburg in the lead of the Pro Tour standings.
Yeah, continuing a very, very solid season, and on this feature card once again.
Getting straight into those bag checks. Matt Orum putting with the classic judge. Going to see some Warden and Harps as well. Keeping it simple with the mid-range is just the VIP Pine. See some Rives, Felons, and Honors out here.
Calvin Heimburg, by this point, Gatekeeper viewers should be pretty familiar with that bag. Putting with the KC Pro AVR, a couple different throwing putters. Toro going to get some work for the overstable approaches, and then the Vila and Eagle for his fairway driver shots.
Chris Dickerson putting with the CT Challenger OS is going to see some zones and buzzes for the upshots. Going to see some Athena. Really likes that Bonsai. Might see some Undertaker and Predators out here as well.
And Zach Arlinghaus putting with the putter line Roach. You see the Buzz SS, Buzz and Malta for his mid-rangers. And then Onyx, Force, Nuke, and Nuke OS getting a lot of work for his drivers.
And that'll bring us straight into hole one, 638-foot par 4. Got OB all the way down the left side, and new this year, OB all the way down the right side. Not quite in the ditch, but just past it, and then a little bit closer at the basket. There's OB long around Circle 2's edge.
First to the tee for our 335 pairing from Creola, Alabama, Matthew Orum.
Matteo, always well loved by fans across the country, but especially as we get towards the southeast. Looks like he's going to go with the distance driver. And Nathan, a pretty big theme on this course is you can attack every hole, or you can play it a little bit safer. Matteo's going to choose to go distance driver here, and if it works, it's a great reward.
Yeah, get some great distance off of it. Not quite at the pin, but very easy up and down to get the birdie.
Next to the tee from Safety Harbor, Florida, Calvin Heimburg.
I think Calvin really sets up great for this type of shot if you do want to get aggressive. He's got that low driven drive that you can kind of pull over to the right and let it drag without ever really being out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that's flipping hard or stalling at the end is a problem. And you see the late action. He's going to need to hit the tree pretty hard, I think. And that keeps him inbounds, maybe even jump putt distance approach.
Third to throw from Gray, Tennessee, Chris Dickerson.
Couldn't see Chris there for a second. Sorry, I was trying to figure out where he was at.
Yeah, he's always going to go some kind of camo or some kind of really obnoxious bright orange.
A little small mix of both here.
Little slower disc from Chris. This is going to drag to the right. Not really fade. Oh, a little late bounce. Holy cow.
Cool flight there from Chris Dickerson with what looked to be fairway drive.
And rounding out our 335 card from Edgewood, Kentucky, Zach Arlinghaus.
Edgewood, Kentucky, not very far from here. Zach has had a lot of family in this area, and great to see the local on the card. Zach told me he's got over 5,000 rounds at this very Idlewild course.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a few of them. He plays well out here in the last couple years. Got the lefty backhand and the righty forehand play.
Yeah, both doing same spin direction. He's going to reach for the lefty backhand for a little more distance. The backhand for the righty forehand for the gap hitter control.
And maybe 30 more feet here, and he would have found that OB rough over on the right side, but he is well in bounds where he's at and well inside the bullseye now, looking for a first birdie to start the round.
Yep, started off with a dunk.
And this is one of the holes that you really do pretty much have to birdie if you want to feel good to start your round at least.
Yeah, missing it is a pretty big mistake. The wind a little calm today, sometimes gusting, but playing as a tailwind here, playing downhill. It's so easy to just get 400 or so. And Matty O, an insolent roll off the chips. The spotter's following it. He is in bounds, but somewhere in circle 2.
Yeah, not quite what you're looking for there. And Chris Dickerson just gonna smartly lay up, take that easy birdie. Doesn't want anything to do with a par or what could come of a roll away. We just had 4 players with strokes above par today on this hole.
Plane overhead, we're very close to the airport.
Calvin Heimburg gonna card the first birdie of the day here on our Gatekeeper feature card.
Yeah, that's a good start. He hits it high in the chains. Continuing his great work from where he left off at Ledgestone. Matty O for his 4. And a significantly harder par than his drive would have led us to believe.
Yeah, but able to clean that up, not be one of those 4 players. Interestingly enough, I saw 2 of those 4 players that shot over par on this hole today. But Ezra Aderhold, Anthony Barella, Ricky Wysocki, all able to card the 2. Start off their day with an eagle.
Yeah, AB, the first card out, first player to throw, I think, as well. Hole 2, 601 feet as a par 4. The tee shot needs to move a little bit left to right. If you've thrown it far enough, you might be able to see the basket as there's a water carry, and then it's kind of perched on a pretty severe downslope. The tee shot, important to get something out of it, as Calvin's going to go forehand inside, and that leaves him probably in fairway driver range.
Yeah, definitely farther than you'd like to be. Makes it a bit more difficult to access the pin, having to kind of run up that upslope there. Dickerson gets a little bit farther, but still going to be on that upslope.
And Arlinghaus, a little bit early, boost to the right. He's going to have to lay up his second shot short of the pond, which makes the third very critical. And Matty O, I like pushing this to the long gap. You see it checks up the hill, and he'll be able to throw mid-range pretty straight, let it fade down the hill.
Yeah, so from where Matty O is at, there's a couple bushes that block your view of the basket, but it really invites that hyzer into the green where you can kind of spike it or just throw something a little slower and let it drift down.
And Calvin with the late drift. He actually is in position. That's in circle 2, but I can't overstate how sloped and delicate everything on this green is. You see how high Dickerson wants to keep this on the hill. Tries to crash those trees a little bit, gets tagged down.
Yeah, it's tough to really put the power on this shot that you need to access the pin, because you know with that power it could go out of bounds pretty easily.
Definitely. Arlinghaus needs this to unwind, and that may have been a good tree kick, although he is likely to lay up for his 5.
Tough to tell. It looked like that may have been starting to come back, but even if it did, that ground play still could have pushed it down to the water.
So everybody playing kind of to the high side.
And this is some scary stuff. Chris Dickerson doesn't want much to do with it. He's just going to slide it up onto the pole.
Yeah. Bocce a decent way to play it. Matteo makes up for that 4 on hole 1 with the risky downhill bid on hole 2 for the birdie.
Yeah, didn't really have a ton of pace on it. Just able to kind of float it in there. Very nice putt. And Arlinghaus not to be outdone.
I said he might lay it up, but a little closer than anticipated. Good knockdown and great par save after a pretty dreadful drive result.
And Calvin looking to start 2 for 2. Seems like he does that fairly often. Or we just watch him so much that we see it fairly often. There it is.
Yeah, very well done from the card. Hole 2, kind of one of the holes that can wreck your round before it's even gotten going.
Yeah, we did have some double bogeys and triple bogeys or above on this hole today, with just 26% of the field taking the birdie. Brings us into hole 3, a 656-foot par 4, new to last year, so second year in play this year. There's Amanda way up on the right. That road plays OB as well. You really want to push over the crest of this hill and make sure you don't have an uphill run up for this second shot. And if you've done that off of the tee, then the second shot isn't too much trouble. If you don't get far enough, there's some really funny lines and funny footwork that comes into play. Should be pretty well done here for Calvin.
You see him going to that forehand. I think this is a course that invites a lot of that counterclockwise spin. And Calvin was executing that very well last week at Ledgestone, certainly more than we've historically seen out of him. Matteo hitting the field goal. That puts him in good position on the hill about 325 away.
Yeah, he's pushed that a little straighter than you like and may have a pretty steep upslope to deal with unless he rolled down to the bottom.
I like this roller play because you kind of can't go too far right once you've passed that set of trees.
Yeah, and he gets up to about the flat. Might have a little bit of an uphill run up to deal with. So Arlinghaus opting for the righty forehand rather than the lefty backhand on this one. Gonna get to a similar spot. And yeah, Matty, you could tell he kind of had to run uphill on that one, and plant up is gonna cause him to come up a bit short there. Hopefully out of the reeds. We'll see if he has a look for the birdie or not.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 whether you can even see the baskets from some places in there. Heimburg back to the forehand. And a little bit of a mean reaction from 18 feet out to about 35, but still a clean look at the bucket.
Going back to that righty forehand on this one. Gonna hit the same group of trees as Calvin and also roll out there to circle 2. Right side of this green, knocking him out of here today.
And everybody going to the forehand play. Dickerson by far the most successful.
Yeah, he saw those guys catching that right. Made sure he hung it out left, as you see right here. It's a little bit of movement left and just spikes it underneath it. Can't birdie it much easier than that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, and as we were saying, up in the air whether he'd have a look. And he tried to make himself have a look anyway through the reeds. Does get a roll back down, but also a nice tree to stop him before he gets too far.
And great clean spin from Zach Arlinghaus. You see the step putt. And
Knew
clean
it out of
rotation
his
to the
hand.
center.
Yeah, he knew that one out of his hand. Starting off well. 2 birdies and a great scramble.
And Heimburg unable to follow the first big putt. Go to Matteo for his 4.
Just gets it high enough. 2 good 4s now for him. Or 2 good 4 putts anyway. Hole 1 should have most likely been a 3.
Yeah, for sure. And Dickerson going to be the last to putt. Make it easy on himself.
The orbit fell, and this thing has been amazing. The plastic, the flight, everything is just amazing. You can really manipulate the angles on this thing. It's a felon, but it does things that felons really aren't supposed to do, and that's why I love it.
Whether you're out playing a tournament or just hanging out with friends, don't let your grip cost you strokes out on the disc golf course.
Eric, try this.
When you have a better grip on your discs, you have the confidence to perform your best with each throw and every putt. Whale sacks are whale-shaped grip bags designed to dry your hand so you can trust that you have the best grip on your disc. Get a whale sack, because better grip means better confidence.
Hole 4, another par 4 at 722 feet. An initial water carry that's not super in play for all of these folks. Plays a little bit downhill. Get yourself a landing zone where you can face up through the gap. And then another, a little more treacherous water carry to a green that has a little upslope in front of it that seems to catch a lot of discs. Dickerson, a little too stable. This is fading out to the left. Angles are a little rough on that side. However, he does stay in bounds.
Yeah, for as far as the second gap is away, it's a pretty specific spot that you want to be in.
Yeah, I agree. And the right side, much more favorable than the left in terms of gap width. So that fades out early. Could be an awkward angle.
Yes, I think you can hit the gap pretty easily from there, but tough to fight far enough back to the right to reach the pin.
Definitely. Calvin's going to go rock here. He said this is the first time he threw this disc. And it absolutely, certainly flew straight enough. We'll see what kind of angle he is left with. You don't even know until you get down there as a player whether you have a clean gap. I like the drag late in the flight for Matteo. Gonna fade up and push right up to the wood line. If you can't hit the perfect gap, at least go far enough to make it pretty elementary from there.
Right. I think ideally from the tee, that brighter white tree that you saw, you want to be just to the right of it, where Zach went right there, is the ideal gap.
You see Zach's comfort with where he was. He elects to lay up. Dickerson doesn't care about the gap. He's going to go up and over.
And I was going to say, I imagine that makes it pretty tough to reach it, and it looks like he did come up short there. Calvin lined up perfectly with that gap, but burns this over just a bit. Still ends up inside circle 1.
Matteo to the forehand. Priority number 1 is get it through the gap. Does so successfully. And so much the better to be in the bullseye.
Yeah, Whisker Tickler. As Arlinghaus trying to get up and down for another good par after being out of position, and executes nicely. He's going to remain 2 under par through 4.
Chris is going to be about 180 feet or so, throwing 4.
Ooh, and although he is in the circle, you'd like to be closer for your bogey putt.
Definitely. I think a big theme at Idlewild is you're going to go OB at some point. There's a lot of OB in play as Calvin's going to knock in a birdie. And how you respond to that and how you recover to it or recover from it is very critical for how your overall tournament is going to go. A little bit of wind picking up. But Dickerson able to convert. Holds it to a single bogey.
Yeah, with as much OB that's on this course out here, you really have to learn to move on from a mistake that you might have made, because it's easy to compound and make that same mistake again here on hole 5, where you have OB down the entire left side. That's very easy to get to with the left-handed backhand, right-handed backhand, or forehand, however you go at it. Very easy to reach this OB on the left. And there's OB up high right too, so you can't get too crazy trying to stay away from the water. Might see some fairways from these players.
And to me, this looks like an okay shot, but Calvin personally told me it was a lame play, and he won't throw that Thunderbird again on this hole.
Lame.
Pretty severe slope. Means that you'd like to land high of the basket, play for a little bit of trickle. Like the way this is flying for Matty O, but the thick grass eats it up in circle 2.
Great distance. You don't often see pin high off to the right without much fade. That didn't have too much height, but lots of speed on it. Pretty tough to commit like Zach's done here to a flex line. And he is going to get up past that tree, be right around circle's edge.
Yeah, that's big time. I like that he threw a very overstable disc, but rode the water line. He didn't put it out over the pond. Ensured that he'd get back in. Dickerson, flying nicely, staying high on the hill, but I think the crosswind, just like Matty O, isn't letting it fight back quite enough.
Yeah, still great distance though. Gonna have a couple scary putts up there. Calvin probably out of run at range, and yeah, he's gonna lay that one up.
Yeah, continuing a lame play. Even Matty O, an aggressive player,
The cloves.
not gonna fool with this elevated basket with only open space and water behind it.
Yeah, and I imagine Chris has a little bit of extra, maybe want to go for it in his head with the bogey on the last hole, but still, he's gonna do, I'm gonna say make the smart play on this one and go ahead and lay that one up. Very steep slope. Zach Arlinghaus. Every other hole, he's gonna card a birdie. 3 down through 5.
Yeah, giving the people what they want also. A couple of these players, Matty O and Dickerson in particular, said they were trying to attack every hole, but weren't going to let themselves get played out of the tournament this early.
Yeah, and only 13 players, or 13% of the field, as we had 100 players in the MPO field, were able to card the birdie on this one today. Second hardest on the course.
I can believe it. And with 100 players, pretty stacked elite field.
And just the first par 3 also.
Back to the par 4s on hole 6, 555 feet. There is OB at the creek, all the way down the left side. Ideally, you'd like to push into the woods a little bit while moving to the right to make your pitch across as short as possible. Forehand plays, backhand roller plays, and for Zach Arlinghaus, his lefty backhand.
Yeah, gets a good move on this. I think it's moving right just a little bit late and catches those branches. Still going to be inbounds. Kind of scrambly from there. You may want to lay up short of the green.
It just depends on your gap. OB is well inside the circle here, and a turf green that plays pretty quickly. Heimburg going to follow that line, but swing a touch earlier. And I think that large tree is exactly where you'd like to land. And if you can go any further than that, so be it.
Yeah, I think left or right of it is really okay. It's a bit of a smaller gap on the left. Interesting play here from Matty O. He's got roller and he's got sidearm. but goes with the very difficult righty backhand air shot. Gets to a great spot, though.
Yeah, favorable bounce. We are playing into a slight headwind with some left to right cross. Dickerson gonna go roller with the paper plate disc. This is cutting up the hill. And that's fine. It, once again, depends on what kind of gap he's got to look at.
Yeah, as early as that flipped and turned over, I'm surprised that it didn't cut farther up that hill. It kind of got a straight push. But worked out fairly well for him. He's pretty close. And Arlinghaus is going to lay up, and difficult to lay up well with this one.
I agree. You end up in kind of an in-between zone where you can't even run the shot or run your putt properly.
Patio over in the ideal spot on the right side. Hangs that just a little bit high, but sneaks around. He's going to be inside circle one for a birdie look.
Mattio's so good at throwing those floaty shots. Calvin's angle, not a problem, as he gets to about 16 feet for his birdie look. And Dickerson, probably not more than 120 out here.
Yeah, able to sneak through those early trees. And also going to be inside circle one, maybe 20 feet, 22. And here's that in-between zone where he was trying to lay up and give himself a putt, but he's really deep circle too right here. Oy, and bit nervous on the run. Could have bounced over, but gonna stay in bounds.
Yeah, you hold your breath while that's rolling that quickly on this turf. But no harm, no foul. He should be able to clean up at par. Everybody else looking for another birdie, and I believe for this tournament that is not playing as out of bounds, the signed area right behind Matteo.
Correct, that is in bounds. That's why he's not taking a meter and is allowed to have his foot touching the ground back there when he releases.
Idlewild certainly gets lots of daily play, and they use that and many other areas as neat little hazard features.
And a neat little birdie there for Matteo is going to put him 3 under par. Tie him up with Zach Arlinghaus if he's able to connect on this par putt here.
He is indeed.
Calvin looking to go 4 down through 6. Pretty good start. Moving into hole 7, another shorter side of par 4s at 484 feet, but again very tight, and there's OB off of this tee shot that can come into play quickly. Gotta hit that gap and move to the right. If you hit the gap and keep going straight, pretty out of position to get all the way up this hill for your second shot. Overstable fairway or mid-range off of the tee, and then kind of deal with what you have from there. This is trouble, and it is out of bounds, moving to a drop zone. 360 feet up the hill.
I think the distance is probably less, but it's definitely going to play like 360 or more.
Be nice.
Matteo, pretty effective, although that has probably pushed more left than is desirable. We'll see what he elects to pull out. He told me forehand rollers are not the goal. Dickerson also with the forehand. Tracks a little bit inside, but I think it's a slow enough disc to get into the landing zone without going beyond.
Just snuck through that gap. Doesn't really move right much, so he's still going to be on a pretty rooty, sloped part of that fairway. This has got some of that right movement in it. And he gets up there right around those 3 trees. Should have a play with that righty forehand or lefty backhand from there.
I'm thinking it's righty forehand so he doesn't have to go patent pending. Heimburg from that drop zone drags over to the right.
Wow.
And gets all of the distance even into the back edge of circle 1.
Yeah, it's a tough drop zone shot. Definitely doable. That one a little bit on the right side. Got clean.
Chris Dickerson to the flex forehand to about 14 feet.
Beautiful shot. Having to go with the standstill, tricky footing. This is most likely an understable disc from Matteo. Nope, just going super stable, which is sacrificing getting to the basket. That was, I think, just a play to get around that corner into the fairway.
Yeah, the kind of thing where if he misses and flattens it out too much, maybe he gets the rocket skip instead of the straight up skip. Arlinghaus actually going to go long in the basket also, and this is no joke of an uphill. I'm impressed that we have 3 discs past the basket currently.
Yeah, very steep shot. Calvin looks like he's got a bit of a tricky putt to deal with here. Oh, not quite able to split those trees. That would have been pretty sweet.
Yeah, first blemish on his scorecard. He's going to walk back to 3 under. And Zach chaining out left side.
Yeah, he messed up. It messes up his every other whole birdie streak there.
Yeah, that honestly, that was my favorite little side game going on to this point.
Had an opportunity, just a bit left though. Chris Dickerson able to card a nice birdie. A standstill second shot really set him up nicely.
And Matteo and Arlinghaus knocking in their pars.
38 players able to get the birdie on this one today. It is short, but that still seems like a high number to me.
For sure. We're going to see more birdies than that on hole 8. 576 feet, par 5. I think the consensus is it's probably closer to a tough par 4. Throw something counterclockwise spin that flexes out a little bit late off the tee. Get yourself into the landing zone, and then another shot similar to that up the tunnel. It's so short that just making meaningful progress on your first 2 shots can probably get you in position for a birdie. This is pretty right side for Dickerson. Looks like it flirted hard, but does get to an effective spot where he can choose any number of shots.
Yeah, like you were saying, don't have to get super far in 2 shots to still have an opportunity for the birdie.
Matteo to a great spot.
This did play as the easiest hole on the course, but if it were playing as a par 4, it would change to the hardest hole on the course. So, what do you do?
Heimburg also going to go forehand. And this one's pretty overstable. We'll see what happens as it flexes out. It does tag the right side, but still in reasonable position to attack. Arlinghaus, I suspect he's been here, given that he's played 5,000 rounds. Going to tag the center tree and go down to probably in the neighborhood of 300 to the bucket.
I'm sure he's one of the players that's been just about everywhere out here. Chris not getting aggressive, just lands in a great spot. Going to be well inside 200, maybe close to 100 actually.
Oh, he's jump putting his approach from there. Heimburg.
Similar spot.
Yeah, tries to attack, and I think the idea for both of those players is let's hit the gap, move a little bit right, maybe punch through. Matteo, too stable, going to fade out to the left, but even he has gotten far enough, he should get a birdie 4 out of this. Arlinghaus with some work left to do. Back to that righty forehand. Needs some flex on it. And then the quick finish.
Oh, and just a bit too much left on that one. Had a pretty good line, or pretty good flight, just a bit too left. Matteo able to flex a forehand out of there, but a bit too much on it. Nice bounce back at the end. Well inside circle 1, looking at a birdie.
And boy, it's not getting any easier over here. Very thick area of the course as Arlinghaus forced to go forehand roller to about circle's edge on his 4th.
A double knee roller, not something you see too often there. Calvin with a very long eagle look. He looked content to just lay that one up for his birdie.
And I was wrong. Dickerson not going to jump putt, going to throw the slowest little approach for speed control, as this is on a subtle downslope.
Executed nicely. Going to have that tap in. Another nice scramble for Arlinghaus.
Yeah, there's been a couple potentials for him to take bogeys, and he's covered those mistakes up. Another huge piece of keeping your round going. Even at 3 down, that's 29th place at this time.
Calvin looking to bounce back from that first bogey stroke he took on 7. Able to do it nicely. Back to 4 down. Tied up Matteo. And soon to be Chris Dickerson. Gobble gobble. Cards playing great out here. 3 of them at 4 down, 1 at 3 down. Moving into our final hole of the front 9. Seems to be the ace hole out here at Idlewild, 258 feet. Speaking of people who have aced it, we have one right here, Chris Dickerson.
We'll see if he gets that aggressive. I think if you go chain high, you're liable to continue flying for a little ways. Putter turnover is on an ace line.
Oh my goodness. And he hits the flag.
Thank you.
I didn't know that.
Me neither.
What a shot from Chris Dickerson here, trying to bring up the past and show us another ace. Gonna catch the flag and still end up outside circle 1 as this downslope is so severe right here.
I got to tell you a story. After the round, I asked Chris Dickerson, did you throw any shots that impressed yourself? And he thought for a moment and said, maybe on the back. He didn't tell me that he hit the flag stick on hole 9. Matteo, a little too wide on the forehand attempt.
I guess when you've aced it already, the flag stick's not very impressive.
Or maybe he's chalking that up as a miss.
Yeah, if he didn't catch that flag stick, he's a good 60 feet past in the woods down there. Calvin has a little less height on this, might be able to check up a bit. And does slides from 30 feet short to about 25 long. Great speed control there from Calvin.
And Zach, buttery little finish here. Circle's edge, just outside bullseye.
Very well done. Also, keeping it low enough to catch that hill short of the basket and slide on up there. And I've already been talking about aces on hole 9. We did have an ace today. Eric Oakley able to card the 1.
Dickerson a little high on his birdie attempt. I heard the celebration from that. They were pretty hyped, as all aces should be celebrated, especially on the Pro Tour. Heimburg back to his birding ways, gets to 5 under to close out his front 9.
And Arlinghaus looking to move to 4 down, which would be the worst on the card through the front 9. That's playing pretty good.
Well, slow and steady. Keep the round moving. Well, we're delighted that you've joined us for Round 1, front 9 feature card. Everybody off to a great start. Plenty of more scoring to get done on the back 9, perhaps some eagle opportunities.
And Matty O pulled off the every other birdie for us just on the even holes.
Okay, well, we missed that storyline. Kyle Klein only missing 1 hole on this front. A lot of other folks in the mix. Nathan, what are you looking to see on the back?
Gotta keep the birdies coming and make sure that you get your pars if you don't get a birdie. Just keep it clean on those last 3 holes especially. Thank you guys for joining us. For Andrew Fish, I'm Nathan Queen. We'll see you guys out there.